Well, good morning, Jacqueline. Good morning.
No, good morning, Petra.
I mean, isn't this the best space to be in? Outside in the sun with the harbour bridge behind us.
Oh, you couldn't have picked a better spot.
I know, it's great.
This is right? Sydney is its best, and the weather is just amazing. I love this area. It is just the best place to have an interview.
And we can't see it on the camera, but the in the corner of my eye, I've got the Opera House. So like, if there's ever a perfect spot, it's here. And once again, I'm so excited about the topic today because I discovered archetypes just recently. You asked me before we started rolling, when did you discover archetypes? And it was literally, I don't know how it came to be. What I do remember though is watching a YouTube clip with Carolyn Myss.
Yeah.
And she mentioned archetypes, and then by some reason I got onto her book and I started reading her book.
Oh yeah.
And I really loved it because I have been asking myself the question of who am I for a long time, and I've been involved in that journey for a long time. And when I was researching and learning those things, there was a lot of confusion for me because one learning or one sharing said, great, this is your personality profile and these are your strengths. And that was really wonderful because everything helped me to get to know myself better. Equally though, there was the same messaging going, but you can be whoever you want to be. Like no one defines who you are. And it creates a real polarity because it's like, well, if I'm this, but is that really who I am? Is that who I choose to be? And so that caused a lot of confusion for me.
Yeah.
And then when I came across archetypes, I thought, this really sits well with me. So I'd love you to start off with, tell us a little bit about what are archetypes?
Absolutely. Before I start, I want to say I pretty much stumbled into archetypes in a very similar manner like you. I came across Carolyn Myss, and I was in a transition period, starting my new profession as being a business owner, which was quite challenging. And I read her book and it really deeply resonated with me. And I always had a very good sense of who I am and what my mission is in life. But working with archetypes gave me another level of depth and even refinement. So there were areas that I found out that weren't a surprise. But then there were areas that I found out, wow, that's actually surprising me. So what are archetypes? Archetypes are you could say templates for our psyche. They have developed through human evolution. They are very intuitive and instinctual. The most core archetypes that we have, the ones that we actually do have as an instinct, is, for example, the mother and the father archetype. So if I say mother or father, people know exactly, with a few variations, what that means. People also know what it means to be a mother or a father, even if they haven't been a mother yet or a father. So archetypes really deeply describe something that relates to our deepest motivation, our feelings and desires. And some of the archetypes are instinctively, physically almost connected to us as the mother, the father and the child archetype. And then as part of our human evolution, we have also developed more archetypes. One of the probably more older and famous archetypes is like the hero archetype.
Yes.
So the beautiful thing about archetypes is because I just drop a word and people instantly know what that means. And there may be some variation, but in the core, if I say hero, we know what it means. And it is much more than just a preference or a personality style which can be adapted. It is a deep internal motivation that is running us.
So when you say hero, what do people naturally associate with that term?
They associate that the hero is someone who jumps in and saves the project, who has courage and does things for the benefit of others. Now, that doesn't mean that the hero actually has courage, well, obviously he has courage. Sorry, let me start again.
Okay, rewind.
Rewind. They don't necessarily have more courage as other people, but they have such a deep motivation to help someone or to help a project that they overcome their fears and anxieties. So that's why we associate courage with the hero. And in a way, we are all heroes of our own lives. So we have been heroes many times. The hero is also a story of transformation. The hero, when sort of the framework of the hero is that you're living your life, you're happy, and then all of a sudden you get a calling, whether it's an external event or something internal, and you got to do something that you weren't prepared to do, that you maybe even don't want to do. For example, when I started my business, I thought that was quite challenging. But I did have a deep motivation to do something else to help people. So eventually, the hero follows the calling and says, "Okay, I'll do it."
Yes.
Let me do Dan.
Why me?
Exactly. Why me?
Why me?
Why me?
Yes.
And then, it goes into the story of, they meet friends and they meet villains and they have to overcome their fears. And overcoming your fears is only something you can do only by yourself. So there is no one holding your hand in the moment when you face your deepest fears. Mm-hmm. And we see this in all novels, in all movies, everywhere. The hero is a really core archetypal pattern. It's used all the time. It resonates very, very deeply with us because it describes us as a person. And we learn through stories.
Yes, and the interesting thing about the hero is that, as we said, archetypes evolve with time. So before, in the fairy tales, in the medieval times, the hero would come and slay the dragon, and or be the leader of fight for the poor like Robin Hood, etc. When now, if we look at the male hero, which is very stereotypical still in our society, he might not have a sword anymore, but he now has a Mercedes-Benz and a very lavish business, and he's able to provide and and lead the charge to a better something, right? So that's changed. For me, what I really thought was very powerful with the archetypes for me was I did the quiz online, and we'll talk about different ways to identify your archetypes, but it really helped me to understand my behavior and really gave me peace of mind to say, yeah, that is my behavior and that is innately who I am. And so, for example, my strongest archetype is the trickster and the joker.
Yay!
And so fun is really fun and loves having a joke. But the beautiful thing about the trickster is that they can say things that no one else is able to say. If I come back to the old king's times where the joker was able to insult the king while having a laugh, and he was the only one who was allowed to do that without getting beheaded. And I reflected on my life and I thought, I have always, as far as I remember, been able to say that one thing that no one says in a way that doesn't offend people.
Yeah.
And I really resonated with that. And I was like, wow, bam, like, geez. And it gave me language to something. I didn't have language before. So how do we go about being able to identify our own archetypes?
Yes, I understand, and it can be quite daunting. For example, the number of archetypes is quite large, and I have categorized them. I'm working with sort of 70, 80 archetypes, which are the core archetypes.
So are there 70 core archetypes, or are there's the core families, and then it goes into the families?
No, I have 70 individual archetypes, and I've
heaps.
categorized them probably in 7 different categories to make it a little bit easier to find certain archetypes. For example, are you a creative? Are you have a connotation to wisdom, seeking wisdom, conveying wisdom, like the teacher, the student, the mentor? Or are you more physically based? Do you have an athlete archetype? So that makes it a little bit easier for people to scan through. And for some people it is quite intuitive, and they get or they identify their archetypes quite easily. For others it can be initially a little bit more daunting. But one way of looking at it is going through a brief description, which I use, but I also use questions to elicit more the specifics of an archetype.
So elicit means to draw out.
To draw out, specifics of an archetype. And I also coach them and help them, because sometimes some archetypes can be quite close. For example, people could pick a carer, a servant, and the mother. They are distinctively different, but they also have a certain caring connotation, which then people can get a little bit confused.
Do the questions help people find clarity of what their archetype really is?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel that we go by what we think we should be. So how do the questions help dive into our soul?
Well, what it does, it's an intuitive resonance. It's not a logical, I really love to be a queen. No, it's not about that. Is it really something that resonates with you? And then I also go through a process of developing a timeline or a biography of one archetype. So then you actually go back, let me see, the trickster, for example.
Well, of course. Why not?
When did the trickster in my life show up for the first time, or I can remember that it showed up? And then you think, maybe when I was 6 years old at a little birthday party, the trickster showed up. And you kind of go through your life in retrospective, and then you find all these different events, and that's a real indication that it is one of your archetypes, because it would have shown up throughout your life all the time.
So here's a good question. Wow, that's a good question, sort of. As we grow up, we get praised for certain behavior, and then other behavior we get punished for.
Yeah.
So how then do we know that something is innately our archetypal behavior? How do we then feel comfortable with that, even if as a child we were punished for behaving that way?
That is a really good question.
You like it?
Yeah, I do love it, and it does happen all the time. Obviously, we are influenced by our outside world, and as a child it really influences us. But one thing that archetypes are, they are so powerful, they will not be suppressed. So you can suppress them for a while, but they are so powerful. If you do not express them at some point in life, you really feel the discord. I could probably make a reference to the movie Billy Elliot, who was this little boy,
Billy Elliot,
growing up in England in a working class mining sort of environment, and he discovered that dancing was his thing. And imagine that, not enough money, having a father and a brother who are working in mining, so how much resonance would they have to dancing? But he couldn't suppress it. So he found ways, and he kind of struggled through, which is also part of life.
And he pretended to go boxing, and in the meantime he went to ballet lessons.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, and that is the truth. So, that's the power of archetypes. Try to suppress him.
And
doesn't work.
It's that gnawing feeling and that's when we get to the questions: who am I? What is my life purpose? Is when we don't acknowledge those archetypes and we aren't living those archetypes. And when those questions really come up, who am I and what is my purpose, I feel that is a real invitation for us to go within.
Yeah.
To really go, you know, everything in front of me is what I think I should have and what is supposed to lead to happiness and fulfillment, and yet it isn't. Right? And as you say, that archetype keeps knocking, right? So when you hear the knocking, use that. You know, if it's not the birds, it's the ship. But use that as an invitation to come within. And to ask yourself those questions. And when you were saying, when you're a child and reflecting back on what was good for you as a kid, I have this photo my mother gave me where she was clearing out all my baby photos. And I was 3 years old, cute as a button if I say so myself, and I was standing in the middle of my family with this cheeky grin and these cute little eyes, and everyone in the family was paying attention to me and laughing. And that's where my trickster was already coming out, you know, as a young kid. And when you're 3, you're working purely on a subconscious level, right? Which means your natural level. So really look back into your childhood and see what you enjoyed. Look back on photos, ask friends. Would asking friends be helpful?
Absolutely. Close friends, people who know you, they can tell you, oh yes, you're a trickster.
Yes,
they
what
will.
Would you ask them? What would you ask
I would straight up front ask them, you know, if you're not sure about a couple of archetypes, I would just ask them, do you think, you know, am I a visionary? Do you think I have that? And they know what a visionary is. For example, do you think I'm a princess? Oh yes, you are.
It would be helpful to read the archetypes first, like the profile of the archetypes. Would that be helpful? Read that first, see what resonates, and then go and test it with your friends and family?
Yes, obviously, that would make sense for yourself. But you don't have to ask your environment, your spouse or your friends to read this. You just ask them straight up front, because archetypes are so intuitive and some archetypes are so distinct. People will know it.
Yes. Absolutely, they'll be like, yes, when you said princess, you're like, oh yeah, totally, I can totally see that.
And I've done workshops in business with archetypes, and then once the team gets the concept of archetypes, then someone might be a little bit insecure around, you know, what are my other archetypes, am I this or that, and someone within the team will say, actually, have you thought about the goddess? You know, and they pick it, and then we think, you're right, that's it.
Yeah, there's real value in doing it as a group, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And also, the one thing I really about archetypes for me was I never questioned that. You know, when I saw different people's personalities and strengths are so transferable. It's so environmental strengths. Your one strength comes out and then you're in one environment and then in another environment. But for me, archetypes are just across the board. And that's what I love about them. So what would you recommend would be the first step to find out your archetype?
I think it is a good step to learn to understand what archetypes are. So we've discussed it a little bit. For a lot of people, there will already be enough to resonate with it. And then also get your hands on a list of archetypes. So, you know, buy my book, which has a list of archetypes. It will have, because you don't know how many and what are all the archetypes. So it will really help you to confine your search. And then you will go through it. And it's an iterative process, but it needs to be resonating with you, and it is not something that you want to be. That's a downside. Sometimes we would say, oh, I'd really love to be a queen.
Yes.
It's not about that. It's about am I a queen? But once you find who you are, this urge, oh, I want to be a queen, automatically disappears, because you just realize, no, actually I don't want to be a queen. I just want to be me.
And one really good way to find out what your archetype is, and I read this and I can't even quote where I read it, was look at your wardrobe, look at the clothes you wear. What are the clothes you're wearing telling the world about who you are? So I've got yellow in my, I have no black. in my wardrobe. This is blue, just putting it out there. It's dark blue, and it's like, but no black.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so my colours are bright, very flowy kind of things.
Yeah.
Generally, it's only because it was freezing this morning. I'm wearing pants, but mostly flowy dresses. I like being free and able to move as I want to move. And that sort of gives me a clear indication of how I think.
Yeah,
You know, I'm flowy, and I like to move very quickly. I don't like to be restricted. So that's also a really nice way to go look at your wardrobe and go, what's that saying about me? And is that true to who I am?
Yeah.
Because some clothes I wear, but I don't feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
So the question is, why do I wear them? I don't know. But, you know, so I think that's also a nice, fun way to just go and do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Exciting.
Because who you are will express itself in everything you do. Your clothing, how you decorate your home,
Your
know,
friends
your
as
friends,
well.
what you do. So
What you read, what you watch on YouTube, what you post on social media.
Yeah.
I post funny videos of myself making a fool of myself all the time. Where did that trickster come from? That's so exciting, and I'm excited for people to go, why don't get your book, and to really delve into finding who the archetype is. Into. So tell us more about your book.
Thanks for that. Yes, I did write a book, The Free Spirit of Your Life Purpose. And for someone who never wanted to write a book, I'm quite proud of what I did. So I actually really enjoyed the journey of writing the book. And it is all about getting in touch and learning about your life purpose. And the free spirit is an archetype. So the free spirit of your life purpose is referring to the essence that your life purpose is not concerned about what society expects of you, or who you are, what they want you to do. The free spirit does what the free spirit thinks they want to do, and that's your life purpose. So this book is a really good introduction about learning about archetypes and where they come from, the concept of archetypes, a little bit about psychology. And then it takes you through a process of identifying your own archetypes, which, you know, is really exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
And the part 2 of this book has about 70 archetypes listed. So you can identify your archetypes. And then it also has a section, it teaches you how to put your archetypes in the context of your life purpose. It has a few personal stories in there. One of my grandmother, which is really touching.
I love personal stories because I feel I can really relate to them.
Yeah.
Right, and I can see myself in those stories. Right, otherwise it's just knowledge. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And archetypes do relate to stories. And I've put some of the stories from my clients in there as well to help people to relate and understand the concept.
Brilliant. So we'll put a link in for
Thank you.
guys to purchase it. And we've also got a signed copy to give away.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. So, look, I just really want to thank you, Jacqueline, for, first of all, sharing your knowledge with us. So valuable. As I said, I'm so excited about archetypes. It's given me such clarity. It's literally just gone woof for me. And a friend of mine was saying to me just on Sunday, she goes, I'm doing all this personal development stuff, but I don't quite know where I'm going with it. And I'm like, you need to check out archetypes because for me it's clear. And also I really want to thank you for standing in your own power because, as we said before, that is really where the truth is, and what we need now in the world is for each of us to find our own power and to live that power. So thank you for doing that and for allowing other people to step into that power too with your coaching and with your business. So thank you so much for doing that. I've thoroughly enjoyed this interview, and you are beautiful. Like, you know, the Opera House. I don't know. But thank you for joining me in this beautiful environment as well.
And thank you for the opportunity of this interview. I really enjoyed it as well. And I think I'm so glad to see that you are standing in your power and you enjoy archetypes so much. And I can only wish for the audience to identify your archetypes and stand in your power in every day, in the little details of life. We don't have to be the big personalities, the Oprah Winfrey's. That is not where life is at.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome.